Welcome to Skin Deep with your host, Sharrarne Morton. She's scratching below the surface and bringing you the power to make informed decisions about what's in our food, water, and products that we bring into our homes that affect our bodies. It's a show that will help you heal your mind, body, and soul. So stay tuned for all things that are skin deep.
Welcome to Skin Deep here on Sirius XM Channel 141 HUR Voices. I'm your host, Sharrarne Morton, and we have a show for you today that just may make you have a hot flash. Today we're talking about the big M. Go ahead, ladies, you can laugh. We're talking about menopause. And for you fellas, please know that today's show isn't just for the ladies. We know that menopause affects men too, because you're the ones that have to live with us. Menopause affects everyone, including significant others, families, and even folks on the job that have to deal with those women going through it. We're going to be talking today to Dr. Wanda Dyson, founder of Change for Life Medical Spa and Aesthetics, and Brenda Brown, artist, activist, and friend of the show. Brenda has experienced some of the most extreme side effects of menopause that you can imagine. Dr. Dyson is going to tell us what a lot of other doctors either can't or won't tell you. That's how to stop suffering. So, as I always say, we're going to be doing more than just scratching the surface. Here on Skin Deep, we're giving you the power to make informed decisions about your health, and that includes improving your mind, body, and soul. So stay tuned. We'll be right back with information you just can't afford to miss here on Skin Deep. Welcome back to Skin Deep. I'm Sharrarne Morton here on Sirius XM Channel 141. We're talking about menopause today. Yes, I said it. And it's either affecting or will affect every woman in the world and indirectly affect men who live with and love those women. And as I said earlier, I have Dr. Wanda Dyson, founder of Change for Life Medical Spa and Aesthetics, who has some of the answers to menopause relief, and Reverend Brenda Brown, Minister Brenda Brown, a friend of the show and someone who has experienced one of the most extreme cases of menopause that Dr. Dyson has seen. Ladies, you're in the building. Welcome to Skin Deep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're gonna get this party started because a lot of people are afraid to talk about menopause, and a lot of doctors don't know what to say or what kind of information to give out about menopause, but we're going to help all of those women out there that are listening to Skin Deep today, and we're going to help the men who have to live with those women, okay? So we're going to start with you, Dr. Dyson. Tell us your take on menopause and what you went through, and how you're dealing with it, and then we're going to talk to Brenda. Actually, we're all going to talk. We're going to converse or conversate, like they say in our community, about menopause.
So I was not prepared for menopause in medical school. Nobody told me what it was.
What do you mean? When you were in medical school?
When I was in medical school, they didn't describe what menopause was. So I really wasn't familiar with it. Mm-hmm. So when I was in my 30s and my patients were going through menopause, I really thought they were crazy, and I was referring them to psychiatrists.
Wow.
It wasn't until I myself started going through menopause that I understood what they were experiencing.
And you know, a lot of women do think that they're going crazy.
Yes.
You know, and doctors also think so, just like you thought.
Right.
So you really do think you're losing your mind.
Yes. And I had a multitude of symptoms. Almost every system was affected, from my brain to
Same here.
my ears. I had ringing in the ears. I had palpitations, which is
Heart palpitations.
Yes, heart
So did I.
racing. I had insomnia.
Yes.
I was going to the bathroom to urinate every hour on the hour.
It sounds like you were pregnant almost, right? That's some of the same symptoms.
Kind of the opposite of pregnancy.
Okay.
And vaginal dryness and painful sex. I thought something was wrong with my husband. I couldn't even self-reflect to see that it was me. I thought it was the outside world, not me.
And Brenda, you were going through some of the same things,
Yeah,
right?
some of the same things, but worse, I think. I think Dr. Dyson said I was one of the worst cases she had ever seen. And so did Dr. Patricia Newton, who wound up being my psychiatrist and neurologist.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us some more, Dr. Dyson. You experienced some of the worst symptoms ever. You had no idea what was going on with you either. And how
I
did
had some idea that it was menopause.
But
I also thought the irritability and things of that nature were due to my husband.
Like a lot of women think.
Yeah.
And the husbands and boyfriends aren't sure what to think themselves.
And what to do.
Right. Yes.
Right.
So what did you do after you figured it out?
So I went to my OBGYN, and I would have taken poison if they said that would make it go away.
Wow.
Yes.
You were seriously
Yes.
going through it.
Definitely.
Okay.
So
you too,
That's
Brenda?
how bad it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would have taken the synthetic, they call it conjugated equine estrogen. It's from pregnant horses.
So that's horse urine.
Horse urine.
And that's
right.
what a lot of women take, right?
And have been
Yes.
taken for years.
Yes.
Yeah.
Since
It's-
like the 1940s.
That's what they've prescribed to women for menopause is horse urine.
Yes.
And when women are going through the kinds of things that you two have been through, you were more than happy to take it if you thought it was going to help you.
I would have
Yeah.
gladly taken it.
I would have too.
But my OBGYN refused to give it to me.
Why?
Because I had a breast lump. It wasn't cancer, but there was a study, the Women's Health Initiative, that showed that the synthetic horse urine estrogen increased breast cancer.
Okay, I remember the study.
Yeah.
And that study, I think, had a lot of women stop
Scared.
taking that. That wasn't a supplement. What was it? A hormone. It was a
Synthetic-
hormone.
Synthetic,
synthetic
hormone.
hormone.
Yeah, hormone replacement therapy, as it's
Yes.
known.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that study led to a lot of women stopping that. But then what did they turn to? Or what did they, what options did they have? What option did you have?
Well, I had an account with a pharmacy in Texas. It was a compounding pharmacy. So I spoke with the pharmacist there, and I told him what I was going through. I had been getting some advertisements about bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. So the pharmacist said, I'll help you with that. So he told me how to start it. And within about 2 to 4 weeks, all of my symptoms had disappeared.
Wow. And this was not the horse urine pills anymore, the therapy. It was bioidentical hormone therapy. And how is that different from what women had been prescribed for the last, some odd 50 years?
So it's called bioidentical hormone therapy because it is exactly identical to our hormones.
The estrogen.
Yes.
Okay.
And it comes from either yam or soy. The one that I'm using is from yam. And they do one alteration to make it exactly like our estrogen. So it can be measured. But when women are on synthetic hormones, you can't measure it because it breaks down into a lot of other metabolites that we don't even identify.
So tell our audience, what is it, some of the things that women can experience? Because I know you've mentioned to me, women, high blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes, they may not even know that these are the direct result of menopause. And their doctors aren't telling them for some reason. What else is it that women have to be concerned about when it comes to menopause?
So estrogen increases blood flow to the brain.
Okay.
It also helps the brain chemicals get into the brain. So that's why we start to have problems with our brain after menopause when the estrogen goes down. That's why Brenda would have had the issues that she had.
Yeah, depression.
She probably already had
Insomnia.
some issues with having some brain chemicals that were low. But when her estrogen declined, that just took her over the edge.
And that's what happens with women going through menopause. The estrogen decreases sharply, and that then enables all of these other things to happen. The
Well,
insomnia.
It may not be sharply.
Okay.
It may have
Is
been
it
declining over time, like
over
from our
years.
40s.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But we're not usually testing it, so we don't know.
Right.
And then if you're still getting your period every month, you really don't know what's going on.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
what else were you saying, Dr. Dyson?
Well, we don't measure it.
You don't measure
we don't
the
know,
estrogen.
We don't measure it, in our 20s, 30s, and 40s. So we
right.
don't know what the baseline is. We don't know what Brenda's level was.
Right.
We don't know what my level was. We just know that we went off the edge.
Yeah,
with
right.
it.
Went to hell.
Hell and back,
And
hopefully.
back, right. And back, yeah.
Yeah.
And so, Brenda, for you, the extreme side effect was depression.
Depression
and insomnia.
And insomnia.
And Dr. Dyson, you've said on a number of occasions that is, two of the most severe side effects that women can experience. and may not know about.
Right.
Well, there are others.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's just as bad as depression and insomnia?
Yeah.
A heart attack is pretty bad.
Oh, right.
Wow,
Yeah.
you can actually have a heart attack because what? The estrogen is declining, and what is that doing?
Estrogen protects the arteries to the heart.
Mm-hmm.
So when our estrogen declines, we get more blockages in our arteries, and that can cause heart attacks.
Okay. Why they say women now more than ever are suffering from heart disease? Is it related to menopause?
I believe it is.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
definitely related to
definitely believe it
menopause.
is,
And
yes.
there was a fact sheet that was put out by NIH. And one of the causes of heart disease, which is the number one killer in women,
Women, right.
we are so focused on breast cancer
Right.
that we're not focused on the main killer, which is heart disease.
That's right.
But their fact sheet said that menopause contributed to heart disease, but nobody addresses that.
Right.
Right.
Why do you think not? Why do you think
because
no
it's
one?
a woman's issue, for one thing.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
think it's because of the Women's Health Initiative, that study, which said that synthetic hormones increased heart attacks,
Right.
increased breast cancer, increased stroke. But the issue was it was the synthetic estrogen and the synthetic progesterone, which is called progestin,
Yeah.
that was used in that study that caused the increase in heart disease and an increase in breast cancer and stroke and pulmonary embolism, which is clots in the legs that go to the lung.
Wow. And so, Brenda, your experience again was depression and
Depression, insomnia, dry skin to the point of just taking your sweat off and just flakes flying everywhere.
Wow.
Loss of hair, loss of appetite. I actually lost weight. I lost about 50 pounds
during
that time.
onset
Yeah, I
of
guess because
menopause.
of depression, I wasn't really eating.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then insomnia, I wasn't sleeping, of course. I mean, anything that you can imagine, I had.
Yeah.
Allergies increased. My heart was palpitating. I said allergies
Yeah.
already.
It was a hellacious
It was
time
just a
for you.
hellacious time for me
And what
and
did
my
you-
family.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Because your husband had to
My
try to
husband had
figure
to
out
try
how
to
to
take
deal
care
with
of me
that
and my
take care of you.
daughters. Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
Exactly.
And
But
they,
when you went to the doctors, what did they say? Because you went to about 10 doctors.
I went
and-
to about 10 doctors, and only 3 of those doctors really were on target in terms of giving me information or giving me prescriptions that help. I went to doctors who told me only the sweating at night was a symptom of menopause.
Right,
The rest
the-
of the stuff, right? Because they always try to tell you crazy.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that you're only going to have flashes, hot flashes.
Right.
Yeah, they don't tell you all of the other things that Dr. Dyson just
Exactly.
listed.
Right.
And so that's
right.
what they were telling you.
Yeah,
most
that's
of
what
them.
they were telling me. And I went to one doctor who was my friend, who I've been taking patients to for years. And he totally mistreated me and wanted me to do these natural, natural pills and natural supplements. And I'm all for natural. You know that. We've been
Right.
friends for many years, so
Right.
you know that. But I knew that depression needed to be treated with some medicine.
Right,
The
yeah.
type of depression I was having.
Yeah.
And so, I wasted so much money and so much time with him. He wasn't, sympathetic or even trying to understand or even research
What you
all
were
the things
going
that I
through.
was going through. Right.
And you know what? Can you imagine the millions of women that face that all the time?
All the time,
Going to
all the
doctors
time.
who don't have any empathy
Right.
or no sympathy.
This man had no empathy, and
It's
we
really
were friends.
sad.
We were
It's
friends.
very
That's
sad.
what's so
Right.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, see, you were lucky that you kept going and
Right.
kept
I
looking.
had a family and
Right. You had a
and
supportive
brother
family.
and my brother and my husband and my daughters just kept, they were like, no, you getting well.
Right.
Some kind of way. And I have a lot of faith. So
Yeah.
I knew that I would get well. But it was just the hell in between that
Yeah.
I was going through. It was horrible, Sharrarne.
Yeah.
It was horrible.
And you finally, because what do women do when they don't know what to do? What if you hadn't
don't
had
know.
that support system or you didn't come into contact with the doctors that could help you? What do you do at that point?
A lot of
I
women
don't know
get
what they do.
committed to psych wards.
Yeah,
This
or
is-
kill themselves.
Okay.
So when I did
Yeah.
my lecture, which is called Dispelling the Myths of Hormone Replacement Therapy, one of my friends attended the lecture and she was like, "Oh, that's why the women in my neighborhood were being picked up and taken to St. Elizabeth's Psychiatric Hospital."
Okay, let's talk about that on the other side of the break. But Dr. Dyson, let's get your website real quick. It's
C as in Charlie, F as in Frank, L as in Larry, wellness.com.
And you can also go to skinsodeep.com for more information on what we're talking about today. But we'll be right back after these messages here on Sirius XM Channel 141. And we're back here on Skin Deep. I'm your host, Sharrarne Morton, here having a very informative discussion about menopause. And if you need some relief from menopause, you can go to Dr. Dyson's website, cflwellness.com. You can also go to skinsodeep.com and take a look at some of the products and supplements that will helpfully get you through it. So, Dr. Dyson, you were saying that you were at an event and someone saw neighbors, some women that were being picked up and taken to mental institutions.
Yes.
And these women were actually not crazy. They were just going through severe cases of menopause.
Yes, I was doing a lecture called Dispelling the Myths of Hormone Replacement Therapy.
Mm-hmm.
One of my childhood friends attended, and she was like, oh, that's why those women in my neighborhood were running into the streets naked and being picked up and carted off to St. Elizabeth Psychiatric Hospital.
Wow.
And also one of my aunts was at home naked in front of the fan during the day.
Right.
And very irritable and cranky.
Mm-hmm.
And her husband started to involve himself in church so he could avoid being around her.
Yeah.
And he said when their child reached 18 and graduated from high school, he was leaving.
Oh.
So at the day of the graduation, he had his bags packed by the door. When he came home from the graduation, he picked them up and left.
Oh,
Wow.
that's so sad.
Yeah, that is sad. It's sad on two fronts. It's sad because the women don't know what's happening to them. You know, what's going on with their bodies, with their minds, with their souls.
Right.
And the men don't know either.
Because
Exactly.
nobody talks about this.
Nobody talks about menopause.
My mother didn't tell me about menopause. I didn't know what she was going through.
That's
But
right.
I know that she was up in the middle of the night, you know, wandering around, and that she had to take a drink of alcohol to go to sleep. She couldn't sleep, but I didn't understand. And eventually she got dementia.
You know what?
Oh.
And the thing, too, is people make fun of menopause. They laughing,
really
you
do.
know,
It's
oh,
no
you're going
laughing
through
matter.
a hot flash. They start fanning you. It's not
Right.
funny at all.
It's not funny at all.
Yeah, and Brenda, what you went through was not funny.
No, it was not funny at all.
How did you come through
It's
it?
almost hard to talk about it, but I have to talk about it because I think of all the women out there who could be going through something like this now. Because when this first happened, I had no idea I was in menopause.
Okay.
I didn't know what was wrong with me.
Right,
You know, I
yeah.
had no idea. And at first, neither did the doctors that I went through, too. Even my general practitioner was like, what in the world is going on here?
And I'm
You lost all
surprised.
this weight.
The doctors they didn't have a clue what it could be.
Well,
they didn't
she soon figured it out, but
Okay.
initially she didn't have an idea.
All
So
right.
what kind of investigations were they doing? What were they thinking was
Yeah.
wrong with you?
They just didn't know. You know, they were just telling me they just didn't know. Even the doctor who was treating me really bad, my friend,
Right.
you know, he was like, he didn't know what was going on with me. But he was checking my heart and things like that, and the palpitations were there. That my blood pressure had gone up like crazy because I always had 120/70, and then I started to have a very high cholesterol problem as well. All of
Okay.
those things happened.
Yeah.
So, you know, once my general practitioner, who's a female, saw that, then she was like, oh, you know, I'm gonna investigate this more and research it more. And she said, you know what? She finally told me maybe on the third visit, I think you may be going through an extreme menopause, probably the worst one that she said she had ever seen.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And she just guessed this. I mean, she
just
wasn't sure.
Well, she did some research maybe after my second visit.
Okay.
You know, some some really, really involved research.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So-
that's what you do too, Dr. Dyson. You take blood? What do you do when women come to you and they don't know what's going on with their bodies?
Generally, I know now.
Yeah,
You
she-
know,
yeah.
I
know
that
what's
it's
going on.
menopause.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because she knew with me right away.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then once you figure that out, you pretty much know based on the symptoms, because most women will say, well, you know, all this weight gain, or I'm having hot flashes, but they may leave out all of the other things because they don't know that it's related to menopause. You know, the insomnia and the, you know, the heart palpitations,
skin
and dry
and-
skin. They don't know.
Hair falling out.
Right. So
Yeah.
so as soon as they tell you I'm gaining weight or I'm having hot flashes, you do what?
I may do blood work, but I would talk to them extensively about bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. Now, as you know, because we have like opposing views.
Right.
When you do bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, you end up having a bleed every month.
A period every month.
And you need sanitary napkins.
Okay, all right. Okay,
which,
doctor.
a lot of women don't want to revisit that
No,
once they're through it.
No.
If they had a menopause like mine, they'd revisit it.
Brenda, you would actually say yes to another period if you could not have to go through what you went through. Are you serious?
Yes, definitely.
And Dr. Dyson, you're famous for saying you'll have a period till you're 100 if you don't have to face what you face.
Yeah.
I've been on bioidentical hormone therapy for 14 years now.
Wow.
Now, they say you're supposed to stop at 60 years old, according to the American Obstetric Association or something like that. But I don't stop being a woman at 60. And as soon as I go off my hormones, the symptoms return.
You've gone off before, and the symptoms
by accident, like over a holiday, like Labor Day holiday, not getting my hormones in time.
Yeah.
And over a holiday, all my symptoms returned. I started to have headaches, and it felt like an ice pick that was going through my eye to the back of my head.
Oh my
and then
God.
I get joint pains. It's just
they just come right back.
the hot flashes come right back. The going to the bathroom to urinate every hour and an hour, it comes right back. The insomnia comes right back. I just absolutely cannot live that life. It's a very poor quality of life.
It is,
It is.
yeah.
And I'm
Very
not
poor quality
interested
of
in living that way.
Yeah. And so bioidentical hormones, you said, are basically it's natural.
It
right?
comes from either yam or soy, and it's chemically altered so that it can be identical to the hormones that we have in our body, to the estrogen.
Okay. Now, what does it help you with your weight gain and the hot flashes, all of that? So if I start using it, will I lose this 7-8 pounds that I've put on as a result of menopause or what?
I'll say that hot flashes are the first thing to go. But what women don't realize is the accumulation of fat, especially around the middle, it's the body's defense against the loss of estrogen. Because if we put on a little extra fat, we can make some estrogen from our fat. So when your middle is increasing, it's because of a lack of estrogen.
Right. But does the bioidentical hormone replace that estrogen? And
Definitely.
Then in turn, you get your waistline back. Yes or no?
I would say
She needs that.
I need this information.
I would say in the majority of cases.
You do get your waistline
Yes,
back.
but we're all not
But
the
you
same.
get the period back too. No.
Well, I'd rather go to the department to get the sanitary napkins than to go get the Depends and diapers as my friends are using.
Yeah,
Okay, wait a minute.
And I
Where
know
are
a
the
lot of my
Depends?
friends that are my age that are using Depends.
Okay, wait a minute now.
Right.
Why?
Not
are they
me,
like,
though.
are you,
Lucky you.
Brenda, you want to put that out
I
there?
want to put that out there. Not
Lucky
me.
you.
Okay,
Right,
so
right.
wait a minute. Why are they using Depends? Because they're
it's
having bladder leakage.
Yeah, bladder leakage.
And wait a
yeah.
minute, that is a result of menopause as well?
Oh,
Yes,
sure.
a decrease in estrogen affects
gosh.
the bladder and the sphincter, which closes up and prevents you from losing your urine.
So eventually you're going to, if you don't use the bioidentical hormone replacement therapy, you will end up with, well, it depends on who you are and your
not-
DNA.
The
Yeah.
thing is, all of these symptoms don't affect everybody
Right.
across the
Right.
board.
Right, because my
Exactly.
mother had no symptoms.
That's why
she had
it's-
none.
That's why it's hard to recognize
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
what's going on.
Okay.
So the first symptom might be a heart attack
Oh
or
my gosh.
or stroke,
that
Or-
severe, that
or it
Yes.
could be
life
it
threatening.
could be an aneurysm. It could be
Oh
what
my
we call
gosh.
metabolic syndrome, which is high blood pressure, diabetes, elevated cholesterol,
Right.
and an increase of the fat around the middle.
Right.
So it throws us into an altered state by not having estrogen.
Okay, so the metabolic syndrome brings on all of these other things, and it brings on it could bring about a heart attack or stroke or something serious that we're going to talk about, because we're going to do part 2 to this show, because menopause is such a huge topic. We can't just end it here. We definitely want our listeners to know that there is help out there for you, and we want them to hear from a doctor and someone, a layperson who's been through it. We want to offer our listeners help, and that's both women and men. So we're going to wrap up, Dr. Dyson and Brenda, and we're going to come back with the part 2 to the show. Give us your website again and the name of your aesthetic center, your health and wellness center, doctor.
Okay, the website is cflwellness.com. That's Charlie Frank Larry Wellness.com.
And it's the Change for Life.
It's Change for Life Wellness and Aesthetics.
Okay.
And it's on Capitol Hill.
So Brenda Brown and Dr. Wanda Dyson, thank you. That's it for now, folks. I'm your host, Sharrarne Morton, and I hope that you take the information we provided today and use it to grow your health. Please like us on Facebook at The Skin Deep Show on SiriusXM. Tweet us at Skin Deep Radio and go to our Instagram page, Skin Deep SiriusXM. That's it for now. Thanks again for tuning in on all things that are skin deep.
This has been Skin Deep with your host, Sharrarne Morton. Thank you for listening. Tune in again next week for conversations and tips on health and healing of the mind, body, and soul.